that business professional mode, even though you are at some place of comfort doing this interview. And it will boost your confidence, which is very, very important. And then during the interview, especially when it's over the phone, be sure to speak very clearly and efficiently. Use the time wisely when answering the questions. Try not to be too long and not too brief. Be sure to have a phone with a strong signal, because obviously if not, then the interview's gone. And then smile. Even when you're on the phone, they can still hear you smiling through your speech. And then also when you're doing this interview, it is over the phone, so you need to have as much attention as possible. So try not to be anywhere that there's going to be any distractions. You don't want to be outside in a park or in a restaurant or anything like that. So just be sure to have as little distraction as possible. And then be confident with everything. Everyone will tell you're nervous. Everyone can see I'm nervous right now. But just try to relax, and they'll try to, just be confident. That's with any interview. And then some things you should have in front of you, like you should have your resume out, any notes that you want to take or you have taken about the company or the person that's actually interviewing you. If you do happen to know their name, just write it down just in case if you need to pronounce it, and make sure you can pronounce it. Have the company application that you filled out or did it online, however you did it, and then paper and a pen just to take some notes if you didn't need it to. And then some questions that they might ask you, just like any other interview. Tell me about yourself. What sort of experience do you have in past jobs or with the job that you're applying for now? And what are your strengths? What are your weaknesses? Things like that. And then the interviewer at this time is just trying to find out like your salary expectations, some personality traits, your skills, how well you communicate, especially since it's over the phone. So they're just trying to get a basic knowledge of the type of person that you are in a limited amount of time. And then, so I've never done a phone interview before, but something that I found that was new to me was that I didn't know that I figured you could just be at home in comfy clothes and talk to this person, but in reality you really should just be in as most professional mindset as you can. But I know that when I do have to do one, I'll know how to be the best prepared I can be. And I think they're just as important, if not more important, than a real interview, because this could be the deciding factor whether you get brought in for the next face-to-face interview. And then, like I said, if I'm ever asked to do one, I'll know how to speak, I'll know what to expect, and I'll know how to dress, even though I will not be in a face-to-face interview. And then I'll take all the tips that I've used, or that I've found, and use them to my advantage when doing a phone interview. And I'll be confident. And then I will be handing it off to Chris with situational interviews.
Alright guys, so my name is Chris Webb, and I'll be covering the situational interviews. It's exactly what it says. Basically, it's an interview about being put in a specific situation at the workplace. This gets commonly confused with behavioral interviews because basically what goes on is in a behavioral interview, it's kind of like focusing on the past, like what did you do in this situation, and a situational behavior interview is more of like what would you do. So like I said, it's more of situational, you're looking into the future, how you would handle something that came up in the job environment, and behavioral is more, what you have done, what you already know. So, like I said, situational interviews are based around hypothetical questions. So these are things that are really going to focus around like problem solving and analytical skills. So this is, something the employer puts out there to see, where you fit in at the workplace. So like I said, problem solving. So these can be, conflicts that arise between a customer, another employee, manager, whatever it is. No matter what kind of job it is, problems that arise, you're going to want to, find a solution and fast. Especially if it's a type of environment where you're even making sales or money. So after problems, then come solutions. So basically, the important part about this is for yourself, for other employees that you work with, and obviously your manager, you want to be able to show that if something does pop up during your workflow, that you're ready to handle it. So to be prepared for a situational interview is tough because it's like in other interviews, but at the same time, you don't really know what they're going to ask you. They're going to kind of throw you curveballs left and right. So you can still be clean cut and prepare that type of way physically, but mentally it's going to come from something called job knowledge. Now, this doesn't have to be things that happen in the workplace. Job knowledge can be what you've heard from other people, situations they've had, and obviously, of course, things that also occur in your own workplace. So whatever you can bring to the table beforehand is going to help you the most. And like I said, these questions are going to be very short notice. They're going to put you on the spot. They're going to say, what can this guy do? What can this girl do? In a quick matter of time. So, if it's in a restaurant or something like that, where you got to work at a fast pace, you got to be thinking quick, to keep everything going smoothly. And that follows up with quick thinking. So you're gonna be at a point where you're stressed out at certain times at work. Maybe you have stuff going on outside of work. Maybe you just had a death in the family, whatever it is. You still got to get that work done. So when problems arise, you got to be quick thinking and ready to go. So role playing is important in all interviews, but especially situational because the interviewer wants to see, okay, if he can put himself in somebody else's shoes, how's he going to react to things that aren't usually going to happen. The good thing about situational interviews is bias is reduced because it's not really based on your duties and skills. It's more based on everybody's getting the same questions, everybody's getting the same situations that could maybe occur. So everybody kind of has the same advantage to get that job. It doesn't really matter who you are. And followed up with that would be equal opportunity. So it doesn't matter what type of person you are, your race, religion. This is based around not job duties. This is based around how you react in certain situations. So measure of expertise. There's a bunch of dull pencils here, and obviously right away you see the sharp pencil sticking out. Nowadays it's normal to have a college degree. It's expected unless you go in the military, the union, something like that. So you really want to show the interviewer how you really stick out compared to everyone else that's walked through that door that day. And so from the interviewee perspective, so kind of put a smaller guy in there compared, so doesn't matter who you are. You could be a tough kid, strong-hearted girl. It doesn't really matter. Either way, it's natural to be nervous and like Amanda said, when things are important. So you really want to go in there confident and show them who you are and that you want the job. So the new and you for me, I really didn't see the difference in interviews. I just thought a job interview was really a job interview. So when you get into it, situational interview I didn't know much about. I didn't know it was different than a behavioral interview, and that you can really take knowledge from any part of your life and put it towards that. It doesn't have to be something that's happened at work. Like I just said, so what I didn't know was that, basically, if you have stuff going on, that can actually relate to work in a negative or positive way. It's all kind of how you put yourself into it. So from the other side of the table, I actually just got hired at the new Chickies and Pete's that's on campus. And the first interview was a standard interview that Amanda did, and so that was fine. That was just about you. And the second interview was completely situational, and I had no idea what I was getting myself into, so everything was on the spot. I had to know, what I was doing for that exact question that he asked me. So for another situational experience that I've had, I was a detailer at a car dealership, and they wanted to promote me to a salesman, so they literally would put me into situations for my interview to become a salesman to see how I would react compared to my jobs that I was doing before. And I also worked at a liquor store when I was from 18 to 21, and I was a stocker cashier, and then my manager promoted me to his assistant, so I actually had the opportunity to interview somebody myself, and my job was to put that kid into a situation that I see at the liquor store. And that's me, and now I'm going to interview Gabby. She's doing case interviews.
Thank you, Chris. As you mentioned before, my name is Gabriella Carey. I will be presenting case interviews. So basically what a case interview is when it's a structured interview where the interviewee is given a challenging situation, and the interviewer wants them to propose a solution or resolve this case that's presented. So basically you would follow a flow chart. So if they're giving you this case, would you go this way, would you go that way, and how would you resolve it? You really, again, like Chris was explaining, have to think quickly, analytically. It's a very high stress interview. People such as IBM, Hospira, Praxair, McKinsey & Co., and General Mills use this. They market themselves as companies that use case interviews. So if a interviewee was researching the company, they might find that indeed they will be put into a case interview situation. So what kind of jobs use case interviews? A lot of consulting companies use case interviews. Also the banking industry has been known for using case interviews, and it's not just a select industry that can use them. Any type of job could. So if you were going to conduct a case interview, you would probably prepare it first from a problem that's occurred in the past at your job, or something that's likely to occur in the future, to see how this future employee would react to a certain situation. So to conduct a case interview, there's a basic structure, and it pretty much follows these 4 steps. You propose the business situation. You ask a more specific question based on what the interviewee has answered. Then you give numerical analysis and what you thought of their answer. You might use a case interview to see how someone thinks about things. You're not trying to get to know this person. It wouldn't typically be the first interview that you're conducting with someone. You want to know, how do they answer complex problems? What's their thought structure? Can they come to a sensible conclusion on the spot? Are they thinking originally and logically? So like I said before, they're not going to be asking you, oh, how are you going to figure out this case, as if they're meeting this person for the first time. A case interview is not typically done right away. So some skills that are showcased are quantitative skills, analytical skills, problem-solving abilities, how you can keep your professional demeanor, the power of your persuasion. These are all things that the interviewer is looking for, and as the interviewee, what is going to be brought about. So how can you prepare for a case interview? Basically, as with anything, practice makes perfect. So the best thing to do is look up case interview questions. A lot of the companies I mentioned before put out examples on the web, so it's easy to find example questions. Are you prepared? So as much as research as you can do, you also have to come physically prepared. A lot of times the interviewer will allow you to take notes, bring graph paper if you think that maybe your answer will be better proposed in a visual state. And so you can plan, prepare, and perform to the best of your ability. You want to come in well rested and not with high stress levels. You know, you want to be relaxed and able to think clearly, because this case may involve a lot of math. It could you know, put a lot of high stress, as I mentioned before. It's not an easy type of interview. So what not to do during an interview? You know, that's pretty much a universal answer. Don't come dressed unprofessionally. Don't show disinterest. Definitely come on time, and ask the employer, how long is this interview going to take? You want to, for a case interview specifically, you want to think very clearly. Employers don't expect you to have a quick answer. They actually would see that as a red flag, that you're thinking too quickly. They do expect there to be a little bit of a break taken in between your answer and them asking the question. And with all these things, you will most likely find success in your interview if you just plan ahead of time and really prepare yourself. It is an interview that you do need to prepare for. It's not something to be taken lightly or just expect to wing. Just walk in and get it done. It's something that you should prepare for.